I am so excited today to be able to teach you about customary units of weight. Today we are going to get a feel for how much things weigh and how to compare them to other things that might weigh a similar amount. So let's get started. First, paper, pencil with eraser. You may use a multiplication grid if you're going to do calculations by hand, but otherwise, oh, look at this. You are allowed to use a calculator. We have been doing so much work with our multiplication grid, multiplying, dividing, doing calculations by hand. Today, since we're talking about weight, let's use a calculator so that we can just focus on the concept of weight. So customary is the title of the measurement, the unit measurements that we use in the United States. Customary weight. There are 3 different types of customary weight that we're going to focus on today. Ounces, pounds, and tons. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, you know what? I've heard about pounds. Maybe you know how much you weigh. And I've heard tons. There's an expression, an idiom that says, oh, this weighs a ton. It's so heavy. So let's talk about some things that weigh these different units of weight: ounces, pounds, and tons. So as far as ounces are concerned, if you have literally one slice of bread, just one, that is 1 ounce. It's pretty light, isn't it? Now, when we talk about pounds, if you have a whole loaf, where that single slice of bread came from, that's 1 pound. Pretty cool, huh? And if you think about it, I was surprised to find out that a loaf of bread is 1 whole pound, because a loaf of bread is actually pretty light. But I suppose when you put a bunch of loaves of bread together, then you can start to amount some weight. Now, as far as tons are concerned, I bet you're shouting out things that you know about right now, and I'm going to do the best I can. Guys, a small car actually weighs 1 ton. The example that I researched was a 1979 Volkswagen Beetle. So a small car is actually 1 ton. A loaf of bread is 1 pound, and 1 ounce is just a single slice of bread. So we have these different amounts of weight, and we can also convert between different amounts of weight. And so I'd like to show that to you as well. But first, I'm going to give you, let's talk about some examples. Things that we're going to practice determining whether something would weigh ounces, pounds, or tons. Okay, so let's do our first example. Let's pretend we have a pencil. So what would we weigh? How would we weigh this pencil? How would we measure it? Would we measure it using ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right. We would definitely measure this using ounces. We would definitely measure a pencil using ounces because a pencil is very light. How about, and again, you're going to have to pardon Mrs. Gordon's silly drawing here, but how about, you see some feet here. How about, see some big ears. Can you guess what I'm drawing? I don't know how it's gonna come out. All right, there we go. What about an elephant? How would we measure an elephant? Would we measure him in ounces, pounds, or tons? Yes, we would definitely measure an elephant in tons. We would not measure an elephant using pounds. Can you imagine how many loaves of bread would equal the weight of an elephant? It would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. All right, now let's talk about something else. You know, I've got another idea. Let's talk about a book bag. You know, those bags that you put all your books in before you go home at the end of the day. How much would a book bag weigh? What do you think? That's right, a book bag would weigh pounds. Depending on how many books are in it, it would probably weigh maybe 10, 15, sometimes 30 pounds if you really load it up with some books. So that's just to give you an idea of the different customary units of weight and also how other objects compare to the ones that we talked about that really represent the different units of weight. Now, knowing this, now it's time to do like I said earlier, we're going to convert between these units of weight. So I want you to know that, so if I have pounds here, pounds is actually the same as 16 ounces. 16 ounces equals 1 pound. And I have tons here. Do you know how many pounds equal a ton? 2,000 pounds equal 1 ton. Can you imagine? That's crazy. So I know 16 ounces equals 1 pound and 2,000 pounds equal 1 ton. So if we were going to write that, we would say 16 ounces equals 1 pound. 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. Pretty amazing, right? So now, you know, sometimes we need to see weights using different units. So even though a car might be measured in tons, sometimes we'd like to see how many pounds it weighs. Or even though a loaf of bread weighs 1 pound, sometimes we'd like to see how much it weighs in ounces. If we were to do this, that's called conversion. If we were to convert, let's pretend we have a bag of apples. Okay. So there's my there's my crazy looking apple. Let's pretend we have a bag of apples. And this bag of apples weighs 4 pounds. I want to know how many ounces that equals. How many ounces does 4 pounds equal? Well, I could do two things. I could either picture this and I could say, well, I know each pound, I could draw myself a picture. I know each pound is equal to 16 ounces. So I could do 16, 16, 16, 16. Well, if I want to know the total of these, I could add. So I could do 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16. Or I could take a shortcut. I could gather all my 16s together. There are 4 of them. And remember, multiplication is a shortcut for addition. So I could multiply 16 times 4. Oh, and guess what? Remember that calculator I said we could use? All right, let's get it out. 16 times 4, what does that equal? It equals 64. So 4 pounds is equal to 64 ounces. Pretty cool, right? So there's one more trick that I want to show you. We figured out that we needed to multiply to figure out the ounces by drawing a picture. We knew that we needed to multiply, but there's another little rhyme, and it goes like this. It goes, when you're going from a large unit like pounds to a smaller unit, as in ounces, we're going from big to small. And there's a little rhyme that I want to teach you that's called, if you're going from something big like a horse to something small like a fly, you're going to multiply. So listen to this rhyme. If you're going from horse to fly, multiply. So see how a horse is very big and you're going to a very small unit? You're going to multiply. So that's two different strategies that you can use when you convert pounds to ounces, when you go from a big unit to a smaller unit. You can either draw yourself a picture and imagine how to calculate the problem, or you could remember this little trick. Horse to fly, multiply. Let's do another one, only this time we're going to go from a small unit to a bigger unit. Let's say